The WrestleMania 40 card is now in chaos. Raw had great ratings, but AEW did not. Okada to WWE Confirmed, or maybe not confirmed. I'm Luke Owen, and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
For the last few months, and certainly a few hours after the Royal Rumble, the card for WrestleMania seemed to be pretty much locked in place. This is because, unlike previous regimes in WWE, Triple H had a plan for his WrestleMania, stuck with that plan, and is now going to see that plan come to life. He's Trippetto dancing with his come-to-life Planocchio. Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship and CM Punk versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship were set to headline the two nights of Mania, while Becky Lynch would face Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship, and Royal Rumble winner Bayley would face Io Sky. Even the rest of their champions, like Gunther, had their matches reportedly set. But there are some things Triple H couldn't plan for, especially when they happen in a great week for WWE. It started last Thursday when a lawsuit by former WWE employee Janelle Grant was filed against Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE. We talked in depth about the lawsuit and the Wall Street Journal reporting of it in a video which can be found in the video description. It was a lawsuit that prompted the resignation of Vince McMahon, but there was another name also implicated in the lawsuit. An unnamed WWE star who was also a former UFC heavyweight champion was looking to re-sign with the company in the summer of 2021. And has had several accusations against them, including, but not limited to, being offered grant for sexual favors in return for signing a new contract. The Wall Street Journal said that those close to the situation think that the unnamed star was Brock Lesnar. The Wrestling Observer, PW Insider, and Fightful all reported that Brock's planned Royal Rumble return was shelved. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer reported that all of Brock's spots in the Rumble, which had been finalized on Friday, were given to NXT call-up Bron Breakker, which included his entry, his eliminations, and his own elimination at the hands of Dominic Mysterio. This report was backed up by Post Wrestling, who said that Brock versus Dominic was a planned match for Elimination Chamber, a report that's been corroborated by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select. Fightful also had that Brock's WrestleMania plans were being changed. SRS writes Lesnar was discussed as a potential opponent for Gunther at WrestleMania, which had not been discussed throughout the weekend nearly as much. Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio noted that Lesnar is likely done with WWE for good, though you can never say never in the world of professional wrestling. Bret, Warrior, and Punk, for example. And Fightful write, one WWE source said that it could be a long time before we see Lesnar again unless something drastic changes. And it's not just the Brock news that has changed plans. WrestleVotes report via Twitter that between the unfortunate injury to CM Punk, the questionable status of Seth Rollins, and the pulling of Brock Lesnar, the WrestleMania card has took a sharp turn. Source said there are a number of brand new card variations on the table, including some superstars who were not pegged towards the top just days ago. I'm being told they will take their time to figure things out and consider just about everything. Card variation sounds like the sort of thing that Laurie Blake says to me when he's explaining a new deck builder that he's recently gotten into. So we already know about Brock, and we sort of already knew about Rollins. So what about Punk? CM Punk announced on Monday's Raw that he tore his tricep during the Royal Rumble, which will require surgery. This means that he's going to miss Elimination Chamber and this year's WrestleMania. Fightful Select report that Punk waved off help from the doctor at ringside as he wanted to finish the match. And it's horribly poetic that his first match in WWE was the same match he had in his last match in WWE, the Royal Rumble. And that 2014 Rumble saw Punk get a concussion early on in the match, and he told a referee at ringside that he didn't want a doctor as he was going to finish the match. I bring up the Rumble 2014 as Ollie Davis and myself just did a near 4-hour deep dive review of the show, which is now available on our Patreon page. We break down the show as well as all of the news surrounding it and Punk walking out on WWE, and we also chart the first chapter on the breakup of the Shield. Here's a clip.
This is where the quote comes in, and I'll apologize if you don't like the F word. I do not love this anymore.
Can you just say bears instead of the F word when it comes up?
I do not love this anymore. I'm bearing sick, I'm bearing hurt, I'm bearing confused. I don't know as a business what we're doing anymore. Every day you tell me this is a team effort, but every day it's a bearing individual effort by me to find out what's necessarily to even bearing come here. It's not fun. I have zero bearing passion for this. I'm bearing concussed, I'm bearing hurt, and all you care about is what segment I'm in and how soon I can get bearing, how I can bearing get my gear on and how I can pee in this bearing cup, and I don't want to do it anymore. Triple H then told him, well, Batista took the same piss test, and Punk, according to him, looked him in the eye and said, did you? And got no response.
It's one of my favorite bits of the whole podcast.
Punk was set to face Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania, but that is now off the card. The likely replacement for him would be Drew McIntyre, which was set up on Raw, but there could be another option. Seth Rollins cut an impassioned promo to Cody Rhodes on Raw this week, asking him to use his Royal Rumble victory to choose him rather than Roman Reigns. This is because, Seth argues, Roman's belt is the Hulk Hogan title that wrestlers politic backstage to get, while Seth's belt is for actual wrestlers, essentially calling it the NWA World Championship by saying it was Dusty's belt. It was such a good promo that the live crowd, who originally chanted "No, no, no" when Seth said Cody should choose him, bought into Seth's pitch, as did Cody, who said he would think about it. I gave my thoughts on this in yesterday's Raw review, feeling it was a promo with no good outcome, as Cody's choice will bury one of the titles. He either sticks with Roman and makes Seth's belt feel even more secondary than it currently does, or he picks Seth and confirms his views that Roman's belt is worthless tat. I've since softened on that following yesterday's WrestleTalk podcast. A few pointed out, correctly so, that it could just take one promo from Cody to make all of it make sense and elevate both titles. Cody has been announced to be on SmackDown this week, but if Dave Meltzer is to be believed, he won't be giving his answer then either. Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio the idea behind the Raw promo is they can build up for a week or two and pop a big rating for Cody's decision. And there is a chance that Cody could pick Seth, as this year's WrestleMania also has a rock-shaped cloud hanging over it, asking if it can smell what it's cooking. The Rock returned to WWE on day one to brag about America, bury Jinder Mahal, and tease a match with Roman Reigns, a match that WWE have wanted to do for a number of years. Dave Meltzer has reported that match likely won't happen at this year's WrestleMania, but it will happen at some point in 2024, hinting that it could be done in Saudi Arabia. But The Rock himself told Fox News on the subject of Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania, "We're talking about that right now. If we were to do something like that, we could possibly put on the biggest WrestleMania of all time." So short answer and long answer is, we're figuring it out. But even with all of that turmoil in the news for WWE, this past Monday's Raw saw a monster rating for the show, pulling in 1.91 million viewers, the largest audience for the show since June, and the best overall rating since the post-Survivor Series episode with the return of CM Punk. Impressively, looking at WrestleNomics' breakdown of the quarter hours, Punk opening the show actually grew the audience, starting at 2.01 million viewers and growing to 2.17 million by the time the segment ended, while the high point of Raw's audience came from the Cody and Seth promo, which brought in a whopping 2.20 million viewers. Look, I know a lot of you aren't, but I'm really gonna miss this Raw ratings chat when the show moves to Netflix. I like talking about ratings. On Monday's episode of the WrestleTalk News, Ollie Davis talked about the impressive viewership for the Royal Rumble, with internal reports saying it was the most watched Rumble event in history. And that might explain why AEW Collision drew a dismal 300,000 viewers, the second lowest rating the show has ever gotten. And the only reason it's the second lowest is because the actual lowest was when the show was moved to Friday nights ahead of Full Gear in November. This week's episode also drew less viewers than this week's episode of AEW Rampage, which is historically AEW's lowest rated show, as it's on that death slot of Friday nights. So do you know what they need? Do you know what AEW need? They need another major signing, a big announcement from Tony Khan, which could be the signing of Kazuchika Okada. But not if WWE get there first. Today, January 31st, marks the final day of Okada's time in New Japan Pro Wrestling, one of the company's biggest stars, arguably the greatest professional wrestler of this generation, a star so bright that New Japan put in a new president just to try and keep him, and he's going to be a free agent. Since the news came out that Okada was leaving New Japan, WWE and AEW became the predictable frontrunners to sign him. It was reported that Okada's appearance on AEW Dynamite last year was a test run for him to see what working with the company on a weekly basis would look like. Meanwhile, Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer reported that WWE pushing Shinsuke Nakamura, a close friend of Okada, into big programs with Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes was being done to entice Okada over by showing him what what he could be getting if he signs with WWE. Programs where he loses and slips down the card doesn't seem like a great deal, I'll be honest. AEW's Tony Khan has been promising big things for All Elite Wrestling in 2024, and it's believed that the signing of Okada and Mercedes Moné, the former Sasha Banks, is the reason behind his promise. That was until Pro Wrestling Tees announced that they have been asked to remove all of Okada's merchandise from their online store, a sign that he was, in fact, going to sign with WWE instead. After all, Seth needs a new challenger for his world title, so why not put Okada in there? But before we all cock our fists and say Okada to WWE Confirmed, Dave Meltzer is here to piss on our chips. Posting on Twitter, the Pro Wrestling Tees thing regards no longer being able to sell New Japan merchandise of his. It's not a sign he's going to WWE. It's not a sign of going to AEW either. Case in point, Jay White's New Japan merchandise was pulled from Pro Wrestling Tees before he left for AEW, and Okada signing with WWE wouldn't automatically pull him from the site either. For example, CM Punk still has his Pro Wrestling Tees page. Plus, you never know, he could sign with TNA and surprise you all. And if he does, he might still find a way to work with WWE. The Royal Rumble had its fair share of surprises, the returns of Naomi and Andrade and the debut of Jade Cargill, but perhaps none more surprising was TNA Knockout Champion Jordynne Grace being the number 5 entrant. How surprising was it? Well, here's how I reacted.
Nick Khan loves to make that point.
Here we go, entry number 5.
It's Jordynne Grace! It's Jordynne Grace! TNA Impact TNA Women's Champion Jordynne Grace! Holy fuck! Oh my god! Someone Naomi knows very well, because this is the woman who defeated Trinity. Naomi, oh my god, for that very champion. TNA bud! A TNA John in 2024 from look at his little face!
Get it, Jordan, get him! Look at that little mark right there. That's the magic of pro wrestling.
Jordynne Grace spoke with Fightful about her Rumble appearance and how it all came together, confirming several reports that the other entrants in the match didn't know she was in the Rumble until the Thursday before the show as they rehearsed the timings. She even jokes that several people thought she'd signed with WWE before she explained, "No, I'm still with TNA." Hilariously, even Naomi, who had her final match in TNA against Grace, did not know that Grace was going to be in the match. Following her appearance in the Royal Rumble, Brian Alvarez on the Brian and Vinny Show noted that WWE and TNA now have a working relationship. Sean Ross Sapp alluded to one as well on his post-show and asked Grace if that was the case. Fightful wrote that she had not heard any more about the partnership, and Grace herself added, "I have a really good gut feeling. I feel like it's a win-win for everyone. Nothing bad could come from a relationship between TNA and WWE." Before you make that claim, I'd probably ask Progress and WXW their thoughts on that. But this weekend will be a double dose of TLC, looking at the best and worst Royal Rumble matches. So why not catch up on the format as we count down the 10 worst wrestling entrance themes?